Good evening. My name is Emily Bain, and my presentation is on aging out of foster care. I'm going to include this in my email, by the way, but I had major issues with the software. This is the third time that I'm recording this presentation due to it not recording my face, first of all, and then it was not able to upload at all. You might have seen in my final upload that it says that there is an error, so I wanted to send you a video of me presenting it so that you could see my facial features and things like that as I was recording. So I'm so sorry about that. Please bear with me. I'm also including screenshots in the email that provide evidence that I uploaded them on time to the best of my ability. I hope that is okay, and I'm so sorry. I was just working until last minute on my paper. And I did get it in on time, but the software had other intentions. Anyways, I am going to attach this to PowerPoint, so I hope that works. And now I'll start. Good evening, my name is Emily Bain, and I am presenting on aging out of foster care. So just some general information about foster care. Foster care is a government program which houses children who have been victims of abuse, domestic violence, neglect. Basically, their home has been deemed unfit by the government. So these children are taken and placed into foster homes where they are able to reside with individuals who have passed a lot of screenings and home studies, and where they have frequent check-ins. If this child is able to, they will return the child to their home. That's the government's primary goal, is to reunite them with a family. However, there's many circumstances in which the children cannot return home and there are no family members that can take them, so they will remain in a foster care home. Oftentimes what happens is the same family is not able to house them for as long as the child needs to be in the program, so the child will be moved around to multiple homes. So unfortunately, there is a lot of instability that happens with these children, and if they are staying in the foster care system until they're teenagers, when they're 18, they are kicked out of the program essentially with little to no aftercare support. So a lot of times these teenagers don't have their proper documents, such as, because they've moved so much, they are behind in school, so they don't have high school diplomas. Sometimes they won't have their license, even their social security card, a lot of important documentation that allows them to have the proper next steps into adulthood. So, there are a lot of sequences of themes that I'll be discussing in this presentation. The first one is health issues. So mental health in particular is a huge issue with foster care individuals. There is a higher level of PTSD and depression in teenagers who have been alumni of the foster care system. So they have reported higher levels of stress, and this does make them suffer academically in college and in high school. And just in general, there's an inability of access to these teenagers of health care. So whether this is mental health care or physical health care, a lot of them don't know how to access this health care, don't have the tools or the know-how. So in general, there are, like I said, higher levels of mental health issues with these teenagers. Kind of alongside of that is their inhibition to develop self-efficacy and motivation. So this is obviously linked with a lot of things such as jobs and school, but these teenagers overall, they score lower in decision making and processing. So this is something that the mental health care field works a lot on with people, such as career training and job therapy, and these teenagers have no support and they have no access to people who specialize in kind of transitional periods of time. So they end up having very little assistance with making these next steps in their lives. So research has shown that teens that live in a foster home for just one more year are able to access healthcare that much more. So a lot of times, like I say, lack of funds, resources, etc., result in them not having healthcare access. But the main thing is there just needs to be a policy change that would allow these individuals to access healthcare. Not to mention the trauma that has been pushed upon them. They are unable to process this and are still needing to do so, most likely. So, another issue is poverty rates. So, research was conducted on 732 individuals, and they followed them between the ages of 18 and 32. And their success rates were significantly lower than their peers. This research also showed that 40% of them did not have their high school diploma, which means that they earned $9,000 less a year on average. So 70% of women and 40% of men received health stamps in this study, and that is a huge issue. So again, there is a significant correlation that research showed between a child being able to stay in a home and job outcomes. So for instance, this individual is able to stay in a job much longer in their mid to late 20s due to having longer care after the age of 18. So we see a lot of correlation, positive correlation between that. Another issue that often faces these foster care alumni is jail time. So there is quite a lot of evidence that shows that up to 4 times these teenagers are 4 times as likely to be inmates, and they are often for violent and repeated offenses. And the time that they were able to observe that a lot of these crimes took place was this transitional period between adolescence to early adulthood. So we can infer that there is quite a bit of development that is happening in that period of time, that they are making regretful decisions. So there has been some government involvement. For example, in 2008, there was the Foster Care Connections to Success and Increasing Adoption Act, which was meant to help these foster care individuals get adopted. So, for instance, individuals with developmental issues, sibling groups, and this was also supposed to help young people get government aid up until the age of 21. However, there is a lot of fine print in this act, and a lot of teenagers do not have the know-how to be able to access this funding. And on top of that, only half of the states in the U.S. Implemented this act. So there was a study done in 2013 that followed up on this policy, and there was very little to no significant improvement that was resulted from this. So an interesting thing about this whole demographic is that there is a bit of division between people who believe that these individuals are a financial drain. And that is why there is hesitancy, I believe, in increasing funding. However, we can see that there is a greater financial burden on society in the long run when these children do not have the proper aid. So, for example, when these children have the support that they currently have, we see that they're 34% less likely to graduate high school. We also see that they're 30% more likely to live in poverty, and that by the age of 25, they have lost $40 million in contributions to society. So, just for example, one 18-year-old who is not able to finish high school earns $260,000 less in a lifetime and fails to be able to contribute $60,000 less in taxes per year. So, as you can assume, this added up between hundreds of foster children per year in each state would result to a great financial drain on our system. We can assume that these individuals who have less education and lower income, that they are receiving a lot of government aid, and these are using our tax dollars when we could just be reusing our tax dollars to get ahead of the problem instead of band-aiding the issue, which is also to the detriment of these individuals. So it only costs $280,000 per year to take on a foster child beyond 18 years old. So data shows that the earnings of this child within just these extra years within a foster care home would yield double the estimated amount of which is spent on them, which is the data that I just explained. So there is a great benefit to these children being able to stay and care beyond 18 years old. For example, they have double the odds of working or being enrolled in high school by the age of 19. They have twice the likelihood of completing a full year of college. And there is a reduction in young women who have unplanned pregnancies, minors, for example, up to 38%. And like I say, these are the individuals who will be accessing government aid the most likely. And so this is a big redirection of funds that would be beneficial to put out into the public. So that brings me to my final point. My proposed policy is that there is an increasing amount of awareness within a community level and within a government level. Once there is an accurate amount of data that can show that there is a great deal of societal backlash that these children's lack of support has, both financially and in terms of having the type of citizens that the government would want, there is a big incentive to being able to support these young people through this transitional period. So awareness of that is key. The awareness hopefully would lead to government funding. This, like I mentioned before, needs to be used for healthcare benefits for these individuals to receive proper mental health care. There needs to be transitional support with jobs, with housing. There needs to be support groups and overall a emphasis on increased benefits to foster care parents who are able to retain these children above the age of 18. So there is a lot of data that suggests that has a significant impact on success in these individuals' lives. So I believe that is the push that needs to happen. And then I've also included my resources on the last page. Thank you so much for understanding about this glitch, and I hope that this is a acceptable form of communicating this information. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to take your course.